not your first victory on the Tour de France.
Matej Mohoric, welcome to the Roadman podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
How are you, my friend?
Busy, as always. Looking forward to the first team training camp in Altea in Spain in a couple of days. Sorting out the last tasks for this busy off-season that I had. So, looking forward to the next phase of getting ready for 2024.
Is it relaxing to go to training camp because you get to leave the kids behind and your girlfriend just looks after the kids?
In a way, yes. I mean, I almost I used to hate training camps because I thought that I was better with the routine if I was in charge of everything at home, because I thought I could, that my food was better, that training was better. I could push harder or take it more easy than at the training camp, because in training camp you train in a group, no? So it's not entirely up to you to decide the pace. And I thought that I could sleep better at home, that my bed was better than the shitty hotel bed and all that sort of stuff. But now, since I have little kids, the opinion has changed ever so slightly. So yes, I do look forward to go to the training camp. I'll miss my children, but I think I almost feel like as if it's a paid holiday. Like, you know how sometimes you like you win a prize in some sort of a game, and you're like you get 1 week in Spain, all inclusive. I feel a little bit like that. Yeah.
Wouldn't be my type of holiday now. You can go and get your legs ripped off by the best riders in the world for 1 week and just suffer like a dog.
It's usually the other way around. Like people usually shout at me to go slower at the first training camp. I used to be the world champion of December training camps. Like the World Tour riders, they divide in two groups: the world champions in training and world champions in races. You know, I hope I changed teams in the past couple of seasons.
I was thinking about before we came on, I was just sitting down with a pen and paper and I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? And for some reason, my first memory of cycling came back to me. And I think I must have been like 3 or 4 years of age. And I had this like BMX. And I can't really remember riding it too much. I've seen pictures of myself when I was a child riding it, but I can't remember it. But I can remember like the very first memory of it. And me and my friend of mine were trying jumps on this BMX. And we must have been 3 or 4. And one of my friends, I tried this jump and I landed it. And one of my friends tried this jump, my best friend at the time, Rory. Haven't talked to him since. Rory, shout out if you're listening. And Rory tried this jump and he didn't land it. He went over the handlebars and he smashed all his teeth, broke his nose. And he was like 4 years old. And I can still remember this. I went to his house like an hour later to see if he was okay. And there was like handprints in blood on his white front door. And this is like scarred into my memory. So it just kind of got me thinking, can you remember the very first time you got onto a bike?
I don't think I can. I remember the day when my parents took off the balance wheels from my bike. And then I remember riding my bicycle when I was like 5 or 6. I don't think I remember anything earlier than that. But I have really nice memories of my childhood. I grew up in a small village in the mountains, basically, not in a city. And we hang out a lot with the other friends from the village. We were riding bikes. We were playing hockey on roller skates. We were playing football, basketball, many different sports and activities. But we also had a farm at home, so I was not free all the time. I was helping my parents out. I wouldn't say most of the time, but some of the time in the afternoon. But I definitely didn't spend any time inside the house. We were always outside, always working or playing. And I have super nice memories of riding bicycles around the forests, building some trails and jumps. But I'm pretty sure we were much older than 3 or 4. We were like probably 9 or 10 when we started to build first jumps and stuff.
Do you remember we used to make those jumps? We used to line people up at the end of the jumps. So like you would start the jump and then like the first time on the jump, you might have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 people lying after the jump and you had to try and jump the 2 or 3 people. But then as you got more confidence, you would try and jump 5 or 6 people. But I always hated being the last person. Like when someone's going for a new record, can I jump 7 people? And then you're the 7th person just lying there praying that this guy can jump the 7 people.
Okay, I thought we were pretty crazy, but since you just told 2 crazy stories, I'm now a little bit more at peace with myself. So I thought we were risking our lives, but you guys were definitely next level, I would say.
I want to shift gear a little bit. I was at this kind of corporate speaking event last week, and a word that kept thrown around all the time was high performance. And I hear this all the time in kind of businessy circles and high performance circles. And it's so overused that it's almost diluted to not have the same effect anymore. Like to ride at the level you ride at, you pay a price. You have to be more disciplined than other people. You have to be more committed than other people. You have to deal with more ups and downs. And the sacrifices you make are absolutely incredible. This life isn't for everyone. I wasn't able to do this life. It wasn't for me. But can you help listeners to understand how much actually goes into high performance?
A lot. It takes a whole team of really high level staff to be able to support this ambition to be one of the best cyclists in the world. I would say my high performance depends on really hard work of probably directly maybe 35 people. So if one of them gets it wrong, I would say it directly affects me and I can't do the same I would have if that didn't happen. So it's not that I can do what I do on my own. It takes the whole team at home, but also in a team environment. Because also to start with, if everyone has, as a human being, values, no, in life, and to work perfectly to achieve the high performance, you need most of your values, the needs being met, no. So you need to eat well, you need to have rest, you need to be happy, you need to not have a need to go for a loo, you need to, I don't know, there's all different things that you need to have if you want to perform, no. You can't be at stress at home because, I don't know, you had an argument with your wife and then go to a race and perform. Or you can't really miss your children and then go to a race and perform. Or you can't be hungry because you didn't have nothing to eat and then go to a race and perform. That just doesn't work like this. And you need as many of these things that you need being perfectly in order to be able to achieve the high performance to start with. And then, of course, there's a lot of preparation that go in trying to get ready for a peak performance. No, it starts from a long way out. In my case, it started when I was 12 years old. I didn't know or I didn't dream of being a professional cyclist one day. I started cycling in a way to do something different, to escape helping my parents out at our farm, to hang out with my friends who also started to practice cycling, and I was enjoying myself. I didn't follow the sport of cycling. I didn't follow the tour. I probably didn't know it existed. I started to follow it when I started to race, and I started to realize that there's also professional cycling, and it still didn't become my ambition or dream to become a professional cyclist because I had so many other interests in life. I used to love to go to school. I even like to help my parents out. I like manual labor. I liked to learn new stuff. I was interested in numbers, in so many different subjects that I didn't think about being a cyclist. I was also not the best at it from the start. There was some of my friends who were more talented than I was, at least physically. Um, and this is probably also the reason why I didn't dream. I really liked to do well in races, but I was more motivated by the desire to get better at it, not necessarily by a desire to win a race. I still today, I dream of winning races, but this is not my, what makes me propel forward, what makes me go and make all those sacrifices. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist myself, so this is what drives me forward. I like to do things better than I did uh, than I used to do. Like if today I did something wrong, I can't wait that tomorrow I can do it better. And this is what motivates me. I was always trying to improve my own performance and my own, my own. I was trying to achieve the goals that I set for myself. I was not necessarily comparing myself to the others. If I did my best and I lost, I came in 22nd. That was a good day for me. And if I did a major mistake that I could have avoided and I won the race, I still wasn't happy with myself. And I think this helped me a lot during my career to stay motivated, because there is always ups and downs. There are some points when you are not probably achieving what you are expected to achieve. And I think if you are motivated by the work that you do, it's a better solution than if you are just driven by the results. Because if the results don't come for years, then maybe you might lose your focus and ambition. No, but I was genuinely enjoying cycling since I can remember, like since I was a little kid. So still to this day, I'm very grateful and thankful that I can say that cycling is my job and my profession.
I'm really excited to announce our show sponsor today is Silca. For those of you who might not know, Silca offers best in the game bike accessories like tools, pumps, plus all your everyday bike maintenance kit like chain wax and even sealant. What sets Silca apart is their commitment to quality, beauty and craftsmanship. Trust me, these products are built to last. I've been replacing my track pump probably on average every 2 years, but my dad has had a Silca track pump since I can remember, and it's still going perfectly strong, almost without a blemish on it. So if you want to spoil yourself, or maybe you want to treat one of your cycling friends, they have so many amazing products over on the Silca website. There's torque wrench sets, bike bags, 3D printed bike computer mounts, and loads of other really cool pieces all over there. And as a Roadman listener, you can get 13% off all Silca products. Just use the code ROADMAN13 at checkout. Not only does this get you a fantastic deal, but it also lets Silca know that sponsoring this podcast is valuable. Whether you're shopping for a gift or you're treating yourself, Silca has something for every cyclist who hates the throwaway culture and loves quality. So check them out, and don't forget to use the code ROADMAN13 at checkout. The details are in the description below.
Is it possible to have balance? You know, if you have a friend that works in the bank, you know, they work till 5 o'clock and then they can come home, they can eat what they want, they can meet friends, have beers, they can stay up late, they can watch Netflix. I guess you're, as a parent, as a boyfriend, you're trying to be many different things. You're not just Matej the cyclist, you're Matej the father, you're Matej the partner, you're Matej the son. Like, how do you balance those conflicting responsibilities with the need to be just always on as a cyclist?
For me, it's this is actually one of the easier tasks that I need to do my job well. To start with, when I was young, I never had an issue with other responsibilities that I had. I loved to go to school. I never wanted to skip lessons. I was absolutely hated for that. Nobody, like, I was not the favorite amongst my friends when we were going to school. This is also part of the reason why I felt more accepted when I was training cycling in the afternoon with other friends, because we had the same interests. And my other friends at school, they hated me because I was a geek. I was always the first to raise a hand, and I never wanted to skip lessons collectively, because I knew at one point we will have to make up for it, and I didn't like that idea. I always liked to make the most out of every moment that I was given. I didn't like to hang around and waste time, because if you have so many interests in your life, you can't satisfy yourself if you hang around and if you waste time. I never was a party guy. I never liked to go. I still don't like to go to parties. I don't like to get drunk. I never even think about trying to smoke a cigarette or something like this. And this makes my sacrifice to be a professional athlete much easier. I also don't mind to skip events like, I don't know, family birthdays or other stuff.
That doesn't feel like sacrifice to you?
No, because I was like always trying to get away, or I didn't want to skip a lesson, but I would pay to be able to skip a school trip or a holiday that I didn't feel as if there was any use of it except of socializing with your friends. No, I didn't like that part. I was more of an introvert when I was younger, and then I became more open when I got older, and I maybe changed people surrounding me with people who had similar interests to what I have.
Well, you think that changed now as you get older? Like, say if your girlfriend's, her best friend's birthday is on, or her best friend's wedding, and she's like, Matej, like, you got to come to this. Like, are you happy to go to that, or are you like dodging those situations still?
I think I still dodge on those situations. I don't like to dress up. I hate dressing up. I hate I don't know, like sometimes I like, but in a more relaxed environment, like the official stuff, the weddings and all those stuff. I'm so happy that I can say, I can't, I'm at the race, or I'm at the training camp, because that happens like 98% of the time.
I wish I had a racer training camp to get out of those weddings.
So I love that excuse. I don't like fancy dinners or I don't know. But I was always like this, so I guess that makes one hard part of my profession really easy. And then to move on from that, I think there's other stuff that where I, because of the type of person I am, have a much easier job than some of my colleagues. Because, for example, I think I would take same care of my body if I had an office job, for example. I would still probably go ride my bike or do some other type of physical activity at least an hour or 2 hours a day, and maybe a little bit, try to squeeze a little bit more on the weekend. I would still probably try my best to eat in a healthy way, to drink plenty of water, and so on. I think it makes me feel better. I don't feel I'm doing a sacrifice when I try to eat healthy and care about what I put in my body. Like, I realize that our lifespan is not that long, like years tick by and you don't even realize. And I hate when I have a health issue because I didn't take care of something properly. Like, I didn't, I always brush my teeth, but I didn't take the same care of my teeth when I was a child that I do now. And I hate myself for that. Of course,
so you wouldn't just sit down on the couch and watch a Netflix movie and say, I'm going to have a tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, though?
Yeah, I would never do that. Like, not even in my, if I had a completely different job, and if I didn't
Oh,
have
you're
kids,
missing out, man. Do it.
I hated to, I don't know, I don't like to chill. I don't like to rest. I don't like to, I get nervous when I hang around. I always need to do something. I always need to be under a lot of stress to be happy and to be at peace with myself. This is just how I am. And yeah.
So you were
My
saying that
girlfriend
you're
used to
kind of
hate me for that because she's the opposite. She loves to Netflix and chill. I hate to do that.
But so you're saying you're kind of a perfectionist. So when you look at last year's training, like say we take a period, I guess the most controlled period for a professional cyclist is the off season, where you can implement bigger changes like pedaling efficiency changes, position changes, because it's difficult to do in between races. So if you take a period like the off season and you look at last year's off season and compare it now to your approach to this year's off season, do you take lessons from last year and you say, hey, okay, I done this well, I done this bad, and how do you like deconstruct the best aspects of last year and bring them into this year's training? Or are you just doing the same thing year after year?
No, you do a different thing year after year, time after time, not just in off season, but also in other phases of season or getting ready or other aspects of your life entirely. I always try to analyze and think about what happened, why something happened, how can I improve something to affect the outcome. And I try to learn from my mistakes. Of course, you need to recognize your mistakes first to be able to move on. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I always felt I was doing a pretty good job of learning from my mistakes. And I got, when I progressed as a child, I always got better. Like I started off being maybe not necessarily as good as my friends, and I slowly closed that gap. And with hard work and doing things correctly and not repeating my mistakes, I was able to make up for I wouldn't say the lack of talent, but for that little bit that I missed against the others with some other stuff that I did better. I learned to be more efficient in races. I learned to read the race better. I learned about nutrition. I realized that if I eat something, it does me good, and if I eat something else, it doesn't. It affects me in a negative way, and so on. And I was able to progress always, and I still do to this day. After being a professional for it's going to be my 11th season next year.
Your Patreon now.
If you constantly learn, you improve a lot, and this experience is really crucial. And it's so much easier for me now to do something because I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what I need to pay attention to not make something go wrong. I know exactly what I need to eat. I know exactly when I need to take rest. I learned to listen to my body. I think the most important thing of all, cycling wise in training, that I learned is that training is there to train to get better, physically better for a race, not to prove anything to anyone or especially yourself. And I don't think I had the confidence when I started, in my first years as a professional cyclist, or even before as a junior. But maybe before I didn't think about this so much because I didn't try to achieve anything. I was just enjoying the process.
But that's
and not
also a great
thinking
point,
about
Matej, for listeners who are, on the group ride at the weekend where somebody just half wheels all day long. And in their head, they're maybe making sense of it because the half wheel and they're proving their worth inside the group. Maybe they haven't, the people who half wheel are normally the people who aren't as fit, haven't trained as much. So they're half wheeling to prove they belong to this group. But if you use your lens and your analysis to view this, that training is preparation to get better for races. Like it's so obvious that that's the case, but we forget about that. It's like by half wheeling and now training in a zone that isn't appropriate for the training session, they're actually making their chances of performing in the race less, not greater.
So I fully disagree with that.
All right,
with
go
that
hit me.
opinion. Do you want me to elaborate on that?
Yeah, definitely.
I have 10 years of experience with half wheeling.
Okay,
on
you're a half
either
wheeler.
side of the spectrum. I think half wheeling happens when either of the riders who are in front are not comfortable with the pace, or one of them is stressed about training. So usually it can be that the rider who is half wheeling is not even wary of that, because he's so much stronger than the other guy that this is completely comfortable for him.
Yeah.
And the other guy just can't keep up, and half wheeling happens. And this is easy to fix. You just need to talk to each other, and if the other guy is a nice person and he has empathy and sort of stuff, I think he will be more than happy to slow down and wait for a climb to then do a higher pace that is comfortable for him, because a point of group ride is to ride together and to have fun, especially in the part when you actually ride together and have fun. Then if you hit a climb, of course it's also fun to race each other a little bit, or to do efforts or whatever, no? And then you can adjust your pace accordingly. Or the other situation, when half wheeling happens, I think from my experience, is when one of the riders who are pulling, usually the one who is half wheeling, who is in front, is much more switched on and focused on the effort, no? And not as relaxed, because he's maybe, I don't know, if he has efforts, he's afraid of the efforts that are about to come, or he's thinking about something else. Maybe they're not talking at that moment. They're not engaged in a conversation. I think if you're engaged in a conversation, half wheeling happens much more rarely, because your brain thinks about the conversation, not about the riding pace. So you automatically adjust pace to fit each other, no? But if there is silence and you are each focused on your effort, then maybe one is more switched on than the other. Maybe one had more carbs than the other, and he feels more energized and he just rides harder, you know. And then you also, there's always a solution to half wheeling. You just need to acknowledge that, not stay quiet and think bad about the other person because he's half wheeling. Probably he's not even realizing he's half wheeling.
Yeah,
That
as I'm
happens
thinking
all the
about it, and
time in
as
the
you're
training camp,
talking,
and if you talk it out, it always works out, I think.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about times when I've half wheeled, and you're totally right. Times that I've half wheeled, I've been kind of nervous about my training. I've been kind of nervous that I have an effort coming up, and I'm in my own zone, and I'm like, I need to get a benefit from this session. Like, I need to be riding harder right now, but I'm just in my own tunnel. Like, I'm not thinking about anyone else. I'm just like, this needs to be a good session today. This needs to be a good session today. And it's
Or
almost
sometimes
like
you're stressed about good sessions. Yeah, I realized the most important thing that I learned in those 10 years is that training is for training and racing is for racing. And I always, especially when I was starting out, I was trying to achieve good sessions. This is the biggest bullshit that you can do. Like, the good session is a session that will make you a better rider. Not a good session. If you did a session that you're really happy with, when you open your file on Training Peaks or Today's Plan or whatever software you might use, I can assure you, that's not an ideal session. You could have done better for your body, and the mechanisms in your body that you're trying to trigger to make you a better rider, if you didn't strive for a good session on paper, if you know what I mean. If you achieved your target average power or your normalized power, if you even like try to force or if you are looking to do a certain average power during an effort, or do the effort exactly as it's prescribed, you're probably not doing it. You're not doing it wrong, of course not, but you're not doing the perfect job. You're doing the perfect job when you understand what the effort is about, and you learn to listen to your body and try to act accordingly to that, because most of the efforts are there to do something, to stimulate something in your body, more often than not isolating one aspect of performance and trying to work on that to make it better. By isolating that means that you make the effort as easy as you can from the other sides of the performance. So now I use weird words, so I need to explain myself. Like, say you train lactate tolerance. This is the easiest way to explain it, no?
Yeah.
You can train lactate tolerance by going flat out for 10 minutes, really hard, sustained effort, and you spend, say, second half of that effort building up lactate, and your body gets better at this. But this effort would equally stress the other things in your body that happen when you do an all-out effort, which is the end goal of what you train for, to be able to do a better all-out effort in a race, no?
So it's
but
interesting
this is not necessarily
because
the most effective way. The most effective way of doing the best effort in a race, of doing this 10-minute effort, is to break it down. So what it takes for my body to be good at doing 10 minutes all out. It takes good lactate tolerance. It takes a high VO2 max. It takes good aerobic capacity to be able to produce, to be more efficient, to burn more fat and less carbs, and so on. No? And if you break this performance down into different aspects and you train for each individual aspect, it's proven that you get overall better than if you just do what you're actually training for. So now, if you did many 10-minute all-out efforts, of course you would get better at doing 10 minutes all-out, but not as much better as if you use that same amount of time and you trained each specific aspect of what it takes to do 10 minutes all-out with a good performance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a totally different way to look at it. You're deconstructing the end results that you're looking for.
And also, if you repeat that time after time, it's much harder to keep doing 10 minutes all out than if you break that down and you train one day just lactate tolerance, one day aerobic capacity, one day this, one day that. I think that's much easier for your mind and your body, because if you train lactate tolerance, means you do 30 seconds all out and then you stop for 30 seconds, which builds up a significant amount of lactate in your legs, but you're not actually suffering because your heart has time to absorb the workload and calm down a little bit, and your mind as well. So you are not struggling as much as you would have if you just did 10 minutes all out. And you have more lactate in your legs when you end up. After 10 minutes, if you do 30-30s, you have probably, I don't know, all of the lactate, 15, whatever. If you do 10 minutes all out, you probably have less, like 8 or 9. Because your heart and your breathing is also struggling to keep up, no? But if you make enough space to actually relax your breathing and your heart rate and everything like that, then your body can just produce a lot of lactate, and therefore it gets better at washing it away.
So when you put that into practice then, when you're in, like, I'm thinking back to last year. Oh, okay, stage 19 Tour de France. You know, you win stage 19 Tour de France, come to the line with Ben O'Connor and Casper Asgreen, if I remember correct. So you're in the break and you know you're probably not the fastest finisher out of these three. But does the fact that you have gone through this process of iterating season after season, and you know you haven't left any advantages that you could have had, you've gone after and chased every advantage you possibly could, does that give you like a confidence when you're in a move like that to think, regardless of the result, I'm happy because I've done everything I can? Or is it you have to win that day?
No, it makes you more relaxed, because after 10 years, you make many mistakes, you explore your limits, and you realize that the best you can do in a race is your best. You can't possibly do better than your best. And you learn sooner or later, everyone, even Jonas Vingegaard or Tadej Pogacar, they all meet some others that are stronger than them in some aspects. So you realize that you can't possibly win everything in any scenario. So there's always a possibility that someone will be better than you because they are whatever, they worked in a more specific way for that, or they are more talented, or they have better equipment, and you accept that. So you don't force yourself to try to win the race. You force yourself to do your best performance, and often that affects you in a way to make you to for your objective performance to be better. Because you don't strive to win, you are not stressed about winning. You're just stressed about doing your best. You focus on your own effort. You make your own strategy adjusted to what you think or predict the others are going to do. And this ends up being a much better and more constructive way of racing than if you just rely on your emotions and try to force to win or be stressed about winning.
How do you measure your efforts that day? So there's you, Ben O'Connor, Casper Asgreen. I would say Casper was probably looked like he was going the strongest that day.
He was the
But
strongest.
how do you measure that effort where you got to be collaborative? The three of you guys got to work together, almost like a team time trial, to get to the finish. But then you got to somehow change that dynamic from collaborative to competitive, so you beat the other guys. How do you measure the effort when you're doing your turns on the front? So you're enough effort to bring the group forward, but also sparing enough effort that when the relationship turns from collaborative to competitive, that you still have a little bit more juice in the tank than the other guys.
You need to adjust your intermediate goals to achieve the bigger ambition, which is to try and win the stage. So you need to move from intermediate goal to the next one and so on, and you need to adjust that as you go. So the first goal, of course, is to actually try to be a part of the winning breakaway, or of the breakaway to start with. And you already, not just necessarily, you need to adjust that sometimes. Like sometimes you need to really force yourself and not think about the final and saving energy for the final to actually get in the breakaway, because sometimes physically and psychologically it's hard to do a close to like a 95% effort to actually just be in the breakaway to start with. So you need to adjust that. So you start to try to be smart and efficient and not spend too much energy to be in the breakaway. Then if you say, oh, maybe this is the move that is actually going, then maybe you need to force yourself suddenly that you do almost your peak effort to actually just be in the breakaway. Once you achieve that, you move on to the next ambition, which is to save the most energy when the group is still big, when the breakaway is big and rotating together. Then you need to strive to be as efficient as you can be, a zero, to eat well, drink well, be focused, to not forget about any detail, try to be smooth, to be smart, to make sure that you know who you're with, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, think about different strategies, observe the others, see who's on a good day, who's not on such a good day, to remember who had difficulties to actually join the breakaway to start with, because then you might adjust your practicing in the final accordingly, because someone might have spent more energy than the others to actually be in the same group with you, and so on. And then as you get to the crucial point of the race in the final, when the breakaway riders attack each other, of course you need to do everything to be in the winning move. And it was the moment of it was the moment that Casper attacked on the steepest part of the last climb, when everybody was so much on their hands and knees from the whole day of riding hard that nobody, I think, dared to follow that move, because you also knew that if you follow and enough riders do the same, then you basically risk that others get on the wheel. And we were straight after the steep part of the climb. It was an easy part of the climb, and you knew that the others are going to get a tow, and you're basically done for the day. They're going to have advantage over you on the next easier section of the climb. So it's always a gamble, but I don't know, I felt that it was the moment. The attack was so violent that nobody even dared to follow. Me and Ben O'Connor were the only ones who had the balls to go with him. And when I looked back, I knew straight away that it was a done deal. Nobody else decided to have a go. They were all afraid and waiting for each other, because you're always in favor. If you are the last guy who follows the toe, then you're way better off than if you are the third or fourth or the first guy who follows, no? But it's always a risk there's always a risk that someone else is joining and then you're flicked. And then as you move on, you need to make sure that you stay in the position to win the stage. So if you are off the front, you need to work together to put each other in a position to still be in the winning move. Or if you're behind, you need to work together selflessly to actually ride yourselves back in the contention for the win. Because if you're not in contention for win, then you can't win anyway. So you need to forget about everything else and make sure that you're in contention to win the stage. And only when you are sure that this is the group, that the winner is coming from that group, then you start to think then you start to be selfish, and you start to think about your sprint and your strategy in the sprint and so on. And then for the sprint, I knew that Casper was so much stronger and faster.
And did you know Ben O'Connor was going to come over the top?
Yeah, I knew that my only chance is for Ben to attack and me to completely rely on Casper on covering that move. If Casper didn't cover, I wouldn't have covered and Ben would have won the stage, which was fine with me. But this was my only ticket for stage win. If Casper covered that and I stayed glued to his back wheel and tried to come around him in the last 150 meters. So, yeah, it was, I think if the finish line was 10 meters before or 10 meters after, I would have lost. But fortunately, I perfectly timed my bike throw to be able to get in front of Casper, even though he's a much stronger sprinter than I am.
Obviously, you've won Tour de France stages in the past, so you've more time to reflect on what it means. But in your interview after, which went totally viral, where you were just super emotional and understandably, chatted to Fred about how difficult it was for the team and the aftermath of Gino as well. But in that moment where you said, like, I wish everyone could have a Tour de France stage, like, what does it mean? How life-changing is it to win a Tour de France stage?
There's a huge difference between winning and coming in third. I experienced that myself when I finished third on Puy de Dôme. I was in position to win that stage. I thought I had a shot at one point in the finish climb, like 1K to go or something, before Mike Woods came really strong from the back. And it's a huge difference because in cycling, winning is all that counts. But I think it's also nice because it shows, that even in life, there's always, even in industry or other businesses, like if you are the best, you are the only one there's only one that can be the best, no? And that's always the one who gets the most attention and the most reward for their work. And this is just the way society is. Also, if you look at the other things in nature and other animals, it's similar, no? So it's just the way it is. And there's a huge difference if you win or if you come in second, especially in the Tour and with all the attention that we get. And we want to pay the trust of our sponsors back, of our partners, of our teams, of all the staff that works so hard for us. So yeah, there's a lot of stress and responsibility that I feel on my shoulders.
I couldn't let you go and finish up without asking San Remo 2022, up to then, the greatest ever descent off the Cipressa was 1986. Sean Kelly and Marino, Argentine. Have you seen this one?
No.
Go check it out on YouTube. I wonder who has the Strava record, you or Sean Kelly, for the downhill.
I don't know. I think there was the Strava time is not the fastest from 2022, but I think that because the segment is so short and the start is GPS wise quite similar, like only a couple of meters away from the first hairpin. it might not be the most accurate thing to measure, but I think there are some fans that are really passionate about those times, and they timed it on the TV coverage. And I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but that my time of the descent was the fastest in history by a couple of seconds, which wouldn't surprise me because the bikes and the tires are much, much, much faster. You can corner faster, and also on the States, there is no relation to the bikes from the past. Our bikes are like at that speed, probably over 40 watts faster.
Where did you come up with the idea for the dropper post? Obviously, it's used widely in mountain biking, but
come up with the idea. Our head mechanic Philip Tishma did, and he suggested that we test that in winter. And I figured in testing that it made quite a big difference. I wasn't sure if it makes me faster, but I definitely it was much easier to correct mistakes and stay really close to the limit of what traction you have on the bicycle.
Because you had that bit where you like overshot the corner and you went slightly into the gutter.
The last corner completely, and I slipped on the front, on the back, everywhere, and I almost crashed myself. But I somehow managed to keep control of the bicycle, and I stayed upright.
How I was terrified watching that. Like, how terrified must your girlfriend have been watching that descent, or your parents?
Oh, she never watches racing. No, my family never watches racing.
It was shocking. Matej, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck for the season ahead, and hopefully we'll get you back at some point for a bit of an update.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to today's podcast. If you enjoyed this, click up here and check out my conversation with Fred Wright, where he talks about winning the British National Championships and tragically losing his friend Gino Matej this season. Also, if you have a chance, click over here and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to see you next day.